Hello everybody and welcome to Tree Doctors. I'm your host John Passmore. On today's program we're going to catch up with Ed Dickey, the head tree doctor at Dickey Tree Service, and see what's going on out there in the field. We'll do that right after these messages on Tree Doctors.
The tree doctors at Dickey Tree Service can inject a zap back in your tree's sap. Research has showed that ice-damaged trees are stressed, and stressed trees lead to insect and disease attack. Micro tree injection is the answer for your trees. Micro tree injection is a closed system, delivering the exact dose of systemic chemical directly to the sap stream of the tree. Once the problem is identified, the tree doctors at Dickey Tree Service can inject vitamins, minerals, or insecticide directly into the sap stream of your trees. This bypasses the roots and provides immediate results. Micro tree injection has been university tested and field proven for over 35 years. After the tree doctors at Dickey Tree Service treat your trees, you receive a written 1-year guarantee. We won't treat a tree we don't think we can help. Let the tree doctors at Dickey Tree Service put the zap back in your tree's sap.
Daddy phoned to tell us that old tree might have to come down. The one I had the tree house in and chased my wife around. He said a neighbor showed him where it was busting at the trunk. And if the snow got heavy, it could crack down to the stump. We got to save our family tree. It's such a big part of our history. What a nostalgic sight to see. We got to save our family tree. Grandpa said they planted it when he was just 8 years old. His mama kept the clods broke up while his daddy dug the hole. I phoned up a friend of mine that lives in our hometown. He said he knew a tree doctor didn't like to cut trees down. The man went out and checked our tree and bolted it back together. He said it would last a lifetime, no matter what the weather. We got to save our family tree. It's such a big part of our history. What a nostalgic sight to see. We got to save our family tree. Yes, we got to save our family tree.
I want to talk a little bit about putting stuff on trees. These people had me treat this tree here, and I happened to notice the problem that they had. That several years ago they put a lighting system. The people before these people bought it had a lighting system on this tree, and it's allowed it to just actually grow into the tree. You can follow it all the way up and see where the cable comes in and out, and won't be long you won't even be able to see the cable. Needless to say, it's not functioning either. It doesn't work. It's pulled itself in two. But I have seen cases where they still work, even though it growed into it like that. It's not good for the tree, and especially not good if somebody wants to cut that and the power be on. So keep that in mind when you see a wire like this or something. Don't just readily cut it. Could have power to it. You could get hurt. But the best thing to do is not to put them on there with metal staples anyway. plastic would probably be the way to go, and it would have pushed it out of it, and wouldn't have never had this problem. Wouldn't be having this discussion. But just watch out for your tree when you put the lights on them. Lights are good, but when you put them on wrong, it can hurt your tree. I want to talk a little bit about these vines. You see them a lot of times where they're going up the trees, and I tell you how to, I've told on the program how to do that. Cut them off, jump up about 1.5 feet and cut them off, and so you can monitor them growing. These people here, when they got the house, they tried spraying it with Roundup, and they had a little bit of success, and there's still some green ones here. But the thing to do now is go back and pull them off and clip them down at the bottom and respray them, because they're going to constantly be a problem if you don't. And that's what happens with your trees. If you don't pay attention, these vines will go all over your tree, and it's not good. Eventually they start choking it out and taking nutrients that your tree needs, needless to say. And but the way to do it is just clip them back if you can, or keep them at a constant height that you like, a height that you want to live with. And that's how to handle the vines. I'm here in Tyronza with Sonny Justice. And Sonny, how long have you lived here at this spot?
I've lived here for 57 years in this house. It was my grandparents' house, and my mother and daddy lived here, and then I moved here in 57.
Yes, sir. So these are your family trees. What's been going on with your trees here lately?
Well, we've had a bad storm here in May of 2003, and it wiped out 5 big trees and 3 little ones. And I've replanted a lot of trees. I've cut down some old hackberries and stuff that I didn't want, and I've replaced them with some prettier trees, some Yoshinos and some Kawanzas. I got a
color.
yeah. I got some maples. I planted Autumn Flame and October Glory and the Sunset.
Oh yeah, the maples are pretty. And what was going on last year when you called me in about your trees?
The trees just weren't doing any good. I've put in an irrigation system here, sprinklers, and I thought they would really do well with it, but they didn't look good. I had to get some help. They just weren't thriving like they should.
Right. Of course, when Sonny put in the irrigation system, some root loss happened, and that stresses the trees a little bit. But we treated every tree in your yard last year, and it's the spring following that. What do you think about them now, Sonny?
They're looking a lot better, I've got 1 or 2 Yoshinos. It's not growing, but the others are really looking good.
Right, and you've got well over 100 trees, I guess, altogether in your yard, don't you?
I imagine so.
He's got a big yard here, and we're going to move around because he's got some interesting stories about some stuff he's got here that his grandparents left and stuff, and we're going to talk about.
This is an old bell that my grandfather had stationed right out here at the back by the mule barn. They used to ring it every morning at 4 o'clock, and then after eating, I believe eating about 5. And when I was a kid, I heard this bell every day, just donging.
That's what brought you in from the field and all that.
And the old mules would know that when it was getting close to 11 o'clock, they ring it at 11 o'clock for noon. And the mule, if he was getting close to the end, he would slow down, just barely creep till he got to the end so he wouldn't be going back to the other end.
That's neat.
And the bell rang.
Yeah, they say mules are dumb animal, but he's smart there, wasn't he?
Yeah, they were. They're smarter than we think.
Yes, sir. And so what does this bell date back to, do you know?
I really don't know. I know 70 years ago it was here.
Yeah. But you said your granddad brought it from Mississippi, you think?
I think he did.
So it could have been on a plantation down there or whatever years ago.
The old bell out here at the back came from a church down here at Hawthorne Place.
Right. Now, what about you got 3? You got another one back here. Where did it come from?
It came off a Denwood plantation out there. Hoss Ellis had gotten it from them and was using it to crush some cars, and I got it from him.
I'll be doggone. Yeah, I did work there at Denwood, the town of Denwood. So your trees that you got in the back, right behind this bale is a ginkgo. You remember what we had to do last fall to that thing at the bottom?
Yeah, it was splitting, or fixing to split, and we put a bolt through it and bolted it back together so supported so it wouldn't split on up.
Right, and it's doing fine now, isn't it?
Yeah, doing fine, looking good.
Yeah, ginkgo's a good-looking tree. We hardly ever have any disease problem out of ginkgo, but you've got several, like I said, 100 or better, big old trees here. Would you want it planted a lot of these cypress here too?
I planted these cypress, the magnolias, the ginkgos. My grandparents planted these pecans. I've lost those pecans that I lost were about 75 years old.
Yes, sir. So every tree here just about you're tied to your family one way or other, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. This Japanese magnolia back over behind the driveway was planted by my grandmother, and she passed away in '49. So it's well over 50 years old.
Yeah, yes, sir. Well over 50 years old. Sure is. And he's got a vine here. What's going on with this? Is this a muscadine or?
That's a muscadine. I got 4 vines, one on each corner there, and I make jelly every fall.
Right. You remember last year I gave them a shot apiece just to show you what they'd do?
Yeah.
How you think they're looking?
They're looking good. They're coming out good. In fact, got little berries on them already.
Yes, sir. I knew it'd help them because that product is registered for the vine product too. Well, Sonny, I'm just tickled I caught you home and could talk about your yard, and we might come back one time in the future and look at them a little more.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Dickey.
Thank you. I want to talk a little bit about the growths on the trunks of trees and the stuff growing there. I have a lot of people ask what that is. Well, of course, the green is the moss, and then it's more, you'll see that more on the north side of a tree. But the lighter green, that's lichen. That's actually a living fungus that attaches itself to the bark, and it doesn't hurt anything, and it just shows the air is fresh here. And this part of the country, you're going to see a whole lot of that. And that's called lichen. And the green is moss. So that's something you don't have to worry about on the tree. Both of those are good. It's the holes in the trunk, sawdust around the base, that really tells when a tree's got problems. So remember what these two are. The lighter color is lichen, the greener one is moss. I'm here in Truman with Jules Martin. Mr. Martin, a little about a year ago, you had called me in. Why don't you tell our viewers what is going on with these your 2 pecan trees you have?
Well, I thought I'd kill this tree. I'd put some, what was it? I put on them poison.
Yeah, a Hivar, I believe, that you put on there.
On some of the roots to kill something else, and I thought I lost my tree. It began to die, and it put out new growth after you treated it.
Yes, sir. It was in pretty bad shape. This was in. It's been right at a year now, and but we've saved the 2 trees. But what was you trying to kill it at? You was trying to keep the weeds and stuff off of your.
No, I had roots growing in my flower bed that I was trying to kill out.
Oh, that's right. And I gave you a remedy for that. Remember what I told you to do?
Yes, you put salt around.
Right. Yeah. He put. I had Mr. Martin pour some table salt down right along the edge of his walls inside the flower bed, and that kept the tree roots from coming in there after his nutrient and the water in the flower bed. Is that right?
Yes.
Did that seem to work?
Yes, it did. I didn't want to lose this tree. It's been here for 50 years.
Yes, sir. So it is your family tree too, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yes, sir. Well, how long have you lived here?
I've lived here 50 years too. 53 years.
Okay. So that tree's right there with you, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
All right, Mr. Martin. Well, thanks for taking a minute and talking about your tree.
Oh, yeah. Happy to.
I'm here in Walnut Ridge at the home of Dr. and Mrs. Joseph, and he had me come in here a few months ago, and I treated every tree in the yard, and a very unusual tree here. This oak has grown over the concrete around here, and he's allowed it to do that over the years. And it's both doing well. It was difficult to treat this tree, needless to say, because of the concrete, but I finally got it done and got it treated, and it's difficult also to feed it. You have to go out away from the outside the concrete, but the tree's doing pretty good. And I'd like to mention Dr. Joseph still practicing on a limited basis, even though he's been a doctor 50 years. And he still, I think he told me he still works 1 day a week, and you might have read about him in Jonesboro Sun, a big write-up about that. But he cares about people, and needless to say, he cares about his trees too. We tried to help get his trees in good shape. But this is a very unusual tree, and I thought you'd get a kick out of looking at it.
Hey, stick around. We'll be back with more on Tree Doctors right after these messages.
Hello, I'm Ed Dickey, the tree doctor at Dickey Tree Service.
I'm coming to you from inside of a tree. We've been getting inside of trees for 35 years. We get to the root of the problem. Give us a call. We know how to save your trees. We put the chemical where it needs to be, inside your tree, taking care of insect and disease problems. We're often imitated, but never duplicated. We've been doing this 35 years. We know what we're doing. Give us a call. We're the Tree Doctors, Dickey Tree Service. It's not hard to see what killed these trees. It was boreworms. The borer is a hard insect to control, virtually untouched with spraying and other applications. But with systemic injection, when the borer eats the tree, the borer dies. Trees are dying all over, but we've got the cure. We give a 1-year guarantee when we treat your trees for the borers. We've been doing this 35 years and we know what we're doing. Give us a call. We're the Tree Doctors, Dickey Tree Service, in your yellow pages under trees. It's time now for mailbag. That's when we talk about some of the questions that y'all sent us through the computer or we got through the mail. This one here is from Vernon in Batesville. Why should I use your company or one of your tree doctors to treat my trees when there's others that claim to do what you do? That's a good question, Vernon. The problem is the people who claim to do what we do, that's what they do. They just claim to do what we do. A lot of our products we used are protected with under the patent and trademark laws. We own the actual rights to them, and no other company can use those. They were developed by us. Some of them goes back to in the early 80s, the products that's being used in your trees. Also, you will find that we stay abreast with modern changing technology. And some of the ones that claim to do what we do, if you'll research what they're doing stuff that we quit doing several years ago. And there's a reason for that. There's a better way. And as better ways come to be, we use those better ways. So it's kind of like the old saying, you kind of get what you pay for. But in another aspect of that, our technology has got so good that we offer a 1-year guarantee when we treat the trees. Nobody, as far as I know, offers any kind of guarantee after treating your trees. We get 2 years worth of residual when we treat your trees out of killing the insect and stuff. That's why we can offer a 1-year guarantee. One of these days we'll probably be able to offer a 2-year guarantee as technology lets us. So the patented and trademark products that we use in what we do and the staying abreast of the technology is what gets you more bang for the buck. And also now, and we just started doing this here of late, we can actually treat every tree in your yard cheaper than we could do 2 or 3 trees a few years ago. So as opposed to going up, the prices have came down. And as the technology gets better, we can pass that savings right on to the customer. And I don't think you'll see that out of those other companies that claim that. This is from Curtis and Bono. I got 2 oak trees. How do I know if borers are working on my tree? Well, Curtis, it's pretty well obvious most of the time. You'll see some holes in the trunk of your tree. It could even be from woodpecker holes going after the borers, because once the borers are in your tree, the woodpeckers, that's the good guy. He tries to get them out of there. It could be sawdust around the base of trees where the borers have entered and kicked out the sawdust, the waste wood as they go into your tree. It could be limbs dying on your tree for no apparent reason, just popping up dead, and you're having to, every windstorm or two, you got to pick them up out of your yard. But a tree will tell you. You just got to watch for the signs of what it is. It's no charge for us to come and look at your tree to see and evaluate what you got going on with your tree. But if that's happening, chances are you've got a problem with it. And once we treat a tree, you know, you get a couple of years there, you don't have to do anything if you don't want to. It just takes care of itself after being treated. But we also supply you with some paperwork. If you do our little bit of follow-up stuff that you can do yourself, you won't never need us again. You can keep them borers out of your trees for many years as you want to. We got people that we've treated 30 years ago. We've never had to go back on their trees. We got other people that every 2 or 3 years we're back because they do nothing except just treat their trees. Nothing whatsoever. They just want to keep them healthy. some people slide underneath the wire and treat them, and then we don't have to treat them again for several years, and they still do nothing. So it's just the luck of the draw. If we got drought conditions, bad bug buildup in your neighborhood, then you're going to have problems. So once you see a tree in decline, chances are there's something going on with your tree. But that's what we do. We're the tree doctors. We try to correct that. So I hope that answered part of your question anyway there. This is from Cynthia in Mountain View. If I have you treat my trees, how soon will I see a difference after they've been treated? Please respond. Well, Cynthia, like I told you when I emailed you back, once your trees are treated, you're going to see, just in a matter of just a few days, you're going to see a difference in the appearance of the tree because it's very quick acting, and you're going to keep seeing a difference for up to 2 years from that time. Because what it does, it causes the photosynthesis action of the bark and of the leaves to work better in conjunction with the sun and the air, and it just makes the tree like a person being more vigorous and healthy. Your tree is more vigorous and healthy, and if you see a vigorous and healthy person, you can tell the difference from one that's over there half sick. So it's very obvious to the eye, and you don't have to know what to watch for. You just know your tree is looking up, and that's what we like to see after we treat a tree, or all the trees in your yard as far as that goes. And by the way, I did do Cynthia's trees, and we did all of them in her yard after she asked about this. And we'll get her on the program, and we'll get her to talk about what she actually seen, and I'll pull this letter up when I do. But you'll see a result quick, and it's a long-lasting results if you do a little bit of the follow-up stuff we give you the papers on. You're going to start seeing a mailbag on our program every week now. We did a survey, and we found out a lot of people want their questions answered that way. And in case your question don't get answered during the mailbag segment, you can go to dickeytree.com and email us there, or you can just send it by mail to the Tree Doctors at Post Office Box 790, Jonesboro, Arkansas, 72401.
Let's go back in the field and catch up with the head tree doctor at Dickey Tree Service, Ed Dickey, right now on Tree Doctors.
You know, you might have noticed on some of your trees a busted place. It looks like a bust. What these are what referred to as frost cracks. Now, this can happen when the sap is coming up in the tree and the temperature changes abruptly, real quickly, and drops and freezes overnight, and it busts. Another way it can happen, you over-fertilize the tree. Give a tree too much fertilizer, and they'll call it a growth crack, but it actually busts the cambium, and the tree has to go ahead and compartmentalize and close over that. So you might see this on a tree and wonder what it is, and that don't always mean it's construction damage or something. It could be Mother Nature doing the deal, or it could be you just using a little bit too much lawn fertilizer also. So keep an eye on your trees, and they kind of tell you what's going on around there, whether you're doing anything right. You'll be glad you did. I'm here in Jonesboro at the new home of Lee and Lori McCracken. And Lee, you just recently acquired this property, didn't you?
Yes, sir. Just in about the last week.
Well, you called me in, and I like one of the statements that you said. Tell me about what you wanted to do when you called me about your trees.
Well, this place has been sitting empty for about 3 or 4 years, and the trees had their condition had just deteriorated to what you see here now. It's pretty rough.
Right, and what Lee had me do is check the trees, and they're suffering from the gall wasp that stung them, and it started the knots all over them, but they went behind the borers, and you can see the staining on the trunk, and he's got a bad borer problem. And what do you think of your new place, Lori?
I like it a lot. I like all the trees.
Yes, ma'am. And Lee and I walked around the yard, and I think they're tree people. You want to keep all your key trees, don't you, Lee?
Yes, sir. We love the trees and the shade they provide.
Right, and we'll walk around the backyard a little bit, and we'll show one that's hanging over the house. But Lee had me treat 5 of them here, and what's your favorite one here so far, Lori?
I like this big one right here, and then one of them around the back.
Right, they're all pretty nice looking trees. But like Lee had said, this property had not been taken care of for a little over 4 years, and it really went down. And so I would assume that since the ice storm, nothing probably has been done to these trees. Is that right?
That's correct.
That's what got them this condition. But Lee had us treat them, and we got them heading back in the right track now. And we'll walk around the backyard, and we'll talk about some other trees. On the way around to the backyard here at Lee McCracken's is I've got a magnolia here I treated, and you can see how sparse the leaves are. And Lee had me treat this too, and when I come back visit with him one of these days, we'll see how good my product worked and how good the tree is. Lee, what did you just recently bought this? What do you do here in Jonesboro? What do you do for a living?
I own a used car dealership on G Street called Southern Autoplex.
Okay, Southern Autoplex. And so used cars, new cars, or what?
Used cars, and we do financing for all types of credit.
Okay, so you finance them yourself?
Yes, sir.
Well, good deal. And the name of it again?
It's Southern Autoplex.
All right, people get a chance, go by and look at Lee's place, meet him. You're a transplant here, aren't you? You moved here from where?
From Lake City.
Well, good deal. Yeah, and that's there on G Street, he said. And we're going to go around the backyard and talk about some of Lee's other trees. And if you're interested in used cars, stop by and see Lee. I'm sure he'd like to talk to you about it. We moved around to the backyard, and Lori, you said this is your second favorite tree?
Yeah.
I can see why, and you like it too, don't you, Lee?
Yeah, this is my favorite tree out of all of them here.
Our viewers can see why this shades 2/3 of your whole home structure, doesn't it? I know this summer, and he had me treat this tree, by the way, and a lot of it's the healthiest one of the ones we looked at, but he wanted to go ahead and treat it so he wouldn't have problems in the future. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's what people need to do. They don't need to wait till their tree gets sick and then try to pull it back. Try to take care of it before it gets on down. And that's what they did here. But I agree with y'all. It's a fine tree.
Yeah, it's a really pretty tree.
Yes, ma'am. And you got a pretty yard here. And if y'all don't care after y'all get all moved in and Lee is elected to cut some of these out here because of the swimming pool and stuff, I'd like to come back and talk to you a little bit more about your yard.
You'd be more than welcome to.
All right. Well, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Stumps bother a lot of people, but some people make use of them. These people here just put them a nice little concrete basket on it and plant them some flowers in it and living with their stump. So, not all stumps are bad. It's what use you make of it. So that's a tip for you. You got a stump you can't get to in your backyard or can't afford to get it out, you can still make it look pretty, just like these people did.
Well, that's all the time we have for Tree Doctors today. I'm John Passmore for Ed Dickey. Remember, if you need to get a hold of Ed, it's pretty simple. You can go to dickeytree.com or you can call the number below. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time on Tree Doctors.